All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to crack the code on how the market really works by looking through four incredibly powerful lenses: alpha, beta, delta, and volatility. And trust me, this isn't just about learning some fancy vocabulary. This is a toolkit for seeing what's actually driving an investment's success or its failure.
You know, it's the one question every single one of us asks. But if your only answer is, well, the price went up, you're kind of like someone who only reads the last page of a book. You're missing the whole story. The real picture, the one you need to see, comes from understanding the how and the why behind that return.
So let's kick things off with our first two lenses. I like to think of these as the performance pair. They work together to answer two simple but absolutely fundamental questions. Did your investment actually show any skill? And how much risk did you have to take to get there?
And here they are, alpha and beta. The easiest way to think about it is this. Alpha is the skill score, for the person managing the money, and beta is the risk meter, telling you just how bumpy the ride was. There are two sides of the very same performance coin.
So, what is alpha, really? Well, it's the extra juice. It's the performance that you can't just explain away by saying, oh, the market went up. If a fund manager actually delivers a positive alpha, it means their choices, their research, their active decisions, they actually paid off. It's their value add, put into a number.
Okay, now for that risk meter we talked about, beta. All it does is measure how sensitive an investment is to the overall market's mood swings. So the market itself, let's say the S&P 500, is given a beta of exactly 1.0, and every other stock or fund is measured against that starting point.
And this is where beta gets really powerful, right? Because it translates directly into your strategy. If you see a beta over 1, you know you're signing up for a wilder ride. It's going to amplify the market's moves, for better or for worse. Under 1, that's going to be a smoother journey. And a negative beta, well, that's an asset that might just zig when the whole market zags, which can be a hugely powerful tool for diversification.
Okay, so we've got the performance side covered. Now let's switch gears and jump into the faster-paced and, let's be honest, more complex world of options. For this, we need two totally different lenses. One that acts like a compass for direction, and another that's basically a gauge for market fear.
So, first up is delta. And you can just think of this as your options compass. It gives you a really simple but powerful estimate. It answers the question, for every single dollar the stock moves up or down, how much is my options price going to change? So a delta of, say, 0.50 means the option price should move about 50 cents for every dollar the stock moves. Simple as that.
And this is what's so elegant about delta. It just perfectly illustrates the bet you're making. A call option, which is a bet that the stock's going to go up, has a positive delta. Its value moves with the stock. A put option, a bet that the stock will fall, has a negative delta. Its value moves against the stock. It's clear, it's simple, and it's absolutely crucial if you're going to trade options.
And that brings us to our fourth and final lens, volatility. You can think of this as the market's heartbeat. It's just a measure of the size and the speed of price changes. High volatility, that means wild, unpredictable swings. Low volatility means calm, steady waters. It's the raw energy of the market, and when it comes to options, it's a key ingredient baked right into the price. But here's the thing you've got to understand. Not all volatility is created equal. There's historical volatility, which is like looking in the rearview mirror. It's what already happened. But then there's implied volatility. This is the market looking forward, through the windshield. It's the market's collective best guess about how bumpy the road ahead is going to be.
You see this play out in the VIX, right? The market's official fear gauge. When you see a reading down around 15, well, that's a sign of a pretty calm, confident market. People aren't expecting a lot of turbulence.
Now contrast that with a number like 40. Whoa! That signals a market that is seriously spooked. It's gripped by fear and uncertainty. Traders are pricing in huge potential swings, and the cost of getting protection, through options, it just skyrockets. This is the market on high alert.
Okay, so we've got our four lenses, but, and this is a big but, just knowing what they are isn't enough. Using them effectively means you have to know about their hidden traps and some pretty surprising truths. Because these numbers, they can be really misleading if you don't understand the story happening behind the scenes. Let's start with alpha. It sounds so clean, right? A pure measure of skill. Well, not so fast. There's this really powerful bias working in the background that can make totally average performance look like pure genius. It's called survivorship bias. So here's how this trap works. Picture this. Hundreds of new funds get launched. Some do well, some do terribly. The ones that do poorly, they just quietly get shut down and disappear. They're erased from the data.
So when researchers come along later to study performance, they're only looking at the funds that survived. The result? The average skill of the managers left standing looks way higher than it really is.
And beta? Oh, it's got its own big secret. One of the core ideas of finance is that if you take more risk, you should get more return. It just makes sense. But when you look at decades of data, something really strange pops out. The highest beta stocks have not consistently delivered the highest returns. This is called the beta anomaly.
So why? Why does this happen? Well, it turns out it's a mix of our own human psychology and just how the market is built. We tend to love the thrill of lottery ticket stocks, and we overpay for them. And at the same time, the big institutional managers, who could probably correct this mispricing, are often held back by rules that stop them from making the smart bet on less risky stocks. And finally, let's talk about volatility's hidden secret. If you were to plot out the implied volatility for different options, you'd expect a flat line, right? But you don't get one. You get a skew, or a smirk. And what this volatility skew shows us is that traders will consistently pay more for put options, which protect against a crash, than they will for call options. It's basically a mathematical picture of the market's collective fear of falling.
So we've got these really powerful lenses, but we also know they have these hidden traps. The real key, then, is understanding how they all fit together to give you one single unified view of any investment you're looking at.
So let's just do a quick recap. Think of this as your cheat sheet. Alpha, that's your skill score. Beta, that's your risk meter. Delta is your options compass. And volatility is the market's fear gauge. Each one is answering a different but absolutely essential question.
And this is maybe the most important takeaway of all. None of these things exist in a vacuum. They are all connected. You can't really judge a manager's alpha without also looking at the beta they took on to get it. And you can't just rely on an options delta without understanding that shifting market volatility is changing that delta constantly. They're all part of one big, dynamic system.
So I'll leave you with this thought. You now have the toolkit, 4 distinct lenses to analyze performance, risk, and what the market expects for the future. So the next time you look at an investment, don't just see the price. Use these lenses and ask yourself, what new picture emerges? What do I see now that I didn't see before?